Preparing, setting up your meeting. Okay. Craig, aren't you on screen with me?
Yeah. You can see me, right?
I can see you on the Zoom. I don't see you on the YouTube. Aren't you on screen with me?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yep. I can see you on the Zoom. I don't see you on. Oh, so when you were speaking, it flashed you on. Okay, good.
All right. Yeah, it goes back and forth, I guess. I guess that's how the settings are that you have.
Doug set them up, so it works. It's good.
Okay. I'm just going to put out a link while we let people show up.
Cool. Silencing phones.
Got about 19 on now. Give it another couple minutes and then we'll get started.
Good to see Rocco. Either I haven't been on Discord much or I haven't been following along, but good to see you, Rocco. Jeff, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Hello, hello, Denver. Tiger Hunter. Love it. Extra cash too. How does gun detection work if the gun is sure. We'll talk
That's a good question. I'm going to grab that one.
Yeah. Okay. Extra cash too. Cool question. Craig's going to work it into the mix. Good morning, JDM Brett. Raisin, checking in. Woof, woof. Love it. Love it. Beef. Go AITX. Now we got to make that a theme of this call, which is these investors are an extension of the company. They're an extension of what we do. Ah, Jay, extra cash too. Gotcha. If you hit the casinos in Oklahoma this past weekend, I hope you did well. Rocco, yeah, for sure. Good morning, good afternoon, Rex Smith. But really, I mean, it's when we have investor enthusiasm, which we try to get by having informed, engaged investors, is when we can really lift the stock, you know. Oh, another Canadian, Scott Horn. Oh, yeah, Scott. We've emailed, right? I think we've emailed a bit back and forth, Scott. Let's stay safe. Thanks for your work in Alberta. Good morning, Christopher. Good to see you. Nice little Twitter DMs we had flying by. Yeah, Sean, I appreciate that. It's funny, you know, being a startup tech company, because there's just not many that, you know, have what we have and, you know, don't have a bunch of VCs or private equity guys, you know, controlling what we're doing. So it's fun. I've taken to having fun with building this business in the public eye, which is not something you learn or experience most other places. It's been an interesting experience. Good morning, Arizona. A few folks from Arizona on this call I know of. Rudd 360 uplisting news. Let me hit that real quick before I turn over to Craig.
Okay.
A couple more minutes before, you know, a couple more people for people to jump on. Rudd, uplisting to QB. I mentioned that we've satisfied the QB's latest requests last week. And as I said in the weekly video yesterday, you know, hopefully we're clear sailing and boom, we can get the stamp. we get the stamp in a few weeks. It's one of the possible outcomes at this moment. They can ask us more questions. They can deny us outright. Nobody knows. But right now, we've submitted. Everything looks good. I don't have any indications to believe that it won't be, but anything can happen. Thank you, William. Appreciate that. Good to see you. Jacob Marino. Great work. Yeah. Persevering and innovating. You hit it on the head. Hit it on the head. Yeah. We've got stuff happening in Canada, Scott. So some big stuff. I hope your cell service didn't turn off like my mother's and our Waterloo offices. It was a real pain in the ass on Friday, I tell you that. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Let me hand over the intros to our moderator extraordinaire, Mr. Craig Peterson.
All right, welcome everyone to another Ask Me Anything with CEO of AITX, Steve Reinhardt. My name is Craig Peterson, and I am a member of the Board of Advisors, and I manage the official AITX Discord. I'd like to remind everyone to like, subscribe, and sign up for notifications to this YouTube channel to stay up to date. Also, make sure to check out the AITX.ai, radlightmyway.com, and radsecurity.com, and make sure to follow Steve on Twitter. His handle is Steve Reinhardt. So we have a lot of questions already submitted through the Discord, and we're going to be throwing in some YouTube questions as well for about the next hour. So with that said, are you ready to jump in some questions, Steve?
Hey, I'm ready to go. But before we do, I just want to reiterate the subscribe bit. You know what I mean? Like we thrive on sharing. And so please, it's a great way to follow us. The other thing is, I just want to lead off right now with what I'm going to end off with as well, which is the company can only do so much. We're out there working. We've got a great team. Everybody puts in ridiculous amounts of hours and is fully committed, full body experience to making this work and hit our goals. Sometimes, and I see this in other companies' Discords, less so in ours, but you're on the team. You're an extension of the company. So let's be positive. Let's share the news. Let's make sure that we're fighting FUD. I can't. I've got to do my job, but you guys can. And I always ask you to do that. And some folks like, JT Ishmael has been just out there, which I really appreciate. And there's other guys like Marino Joe and Oscar and Pennies to Stocks. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So we've got guys that are out there working hard on it. And I just want to thank them and encourage more to join them and help. So anyway, that's all I got, Craig. Over to you. Let's hit me.
All right. First question comes from Shark's Mom 2. When can we expect to hear more details on the communication company? I'm getting antsy.
Shark's Mom 2 out of California, I think she is.
I believe so.
Yep. Well, we're getting a little antsy too. And the organization that we have the agreement with is spooling up some big efforts. They had a staff change. There wasn't any firings or anything, but the one guy that was leading it went to a different division of the company. So there's a new guy in there now. This is the kind of thing that happens. And that's kind of slowed it down a little bit. But we're engaged, and I think it's going to be a big one. In fact, I got to write a quick note on that one. But yeah, Shark's Mom, it's frustrating for me too sometimes when these things don't move fast enough. You have a few preliminary meetings, everyone's hyped up, go, and then you get set back a couple steps. That's just what happened here.
All right, next one from Jay Rowland. How does the gun detection work if the gun is in a backpack or pocket? Can it exclude law enforcement personnel?
Yeah, it won't, Jay. So if we can't see the gun, then we can't detect it. So what you're referring to is concealed weapons detection. It's concealed weapons detection, and it's something that's been worked on in the industry for years and years and years without success. I've personally been tracking that type of technology since the mid-90s. I think it's so important. And so I've been through a lot of the different tech on it. I'll just share with you guys right now because it's, not material, but over the past couple of years since with RAD, I've looked at 2 companies to acquire in the concealed weapons detection space that we're growing, budding companies, and just too many issues for me to be confident that it would be a good fit for what we're doing and the value we offer to our customers. There's a company called Evolve, which went public a year or 2 ago to great fanfare, raised a ton of money. And a couple of weeks ago, I noticed one of their customers had posted a video of how to use Evolve properly. And they were trying to tell the students, hold stuff, lift your binders over your head as you walk through the detectors, just a bunch of stuff that, makes it unwieldy, which is what my issue with it is. The other thing I want to share on concealed weapons detection is I still have my eyes open. And for what it's worth, I'm talking to one company right now, but I'm skeptic on this stuff. So I really need to see it work well. I think I'm missing a point on concealed weapon detection, but Jay, I hope that fills you in on really what your company AITX has been doing and what I've been thinking about on it.
All right, next question comes from Bobby V in Pennsylvania. How's the development coming along with Rad Dog, Stan, and the delivery robot?
Delivery robot has not moved since I last talked about it. A lot of movement on the dogs, I'm hoping that is a significant, potentially viral July moment. So that's exciting. What was the third thing Bobby asked about?
Stan.
Yeah, Stan, listen, Stan got bumped, not off of the dev list, but it got pushed back in priority so we could focus on Rio. So Rio is more exciting. And I'll share with you why. And Bobby, I know you're such a great, advocate. You communicate so well. I love seeing on Discord if it's the same Bobby.
Yes,
but
it is.
It is. Okay, great. All of our products up until Rio and Tom have been new inventions, right? One of the earlier YouTube comments was innovation, was complimenting our innovation. Yes, they were innovation, they were inventions. And that's great. And that adds value. It breaks down barriers. It pushes us into this new generation of solutions, but you got to educate the market. And along the way, you got to figure it out. And you've seen us do that. And it takes time and money. And Stan is one of those products. We show it to customers. They love it. They're like, oh my God, I can do this and that. It'll save me money. It'll make it convenient. Make it finishes Ava off. I love it. But it's still new territory. Rio, on the other hand, is entering into a market that I estimate does about $500 million of recurring sales a year. And we've shared preliminary Rios with some of our dealer base, and everybody really loves it and thinks we're going to do some massive disruption and immediate damage into an existing market. So because, that it gives us strategic advantages and financial advantages, that's why I've got to shift and balance limited resources across multiple products and multiple projects, particularly since I'm really happy with the crew that we have. We're sitting in the low 80s in terms of staff right now. Last 18 months, we've come off of huge growth very successfully, 5% turnover per year, usually because we've exited someone who's not a fit. So maybe we slowly creep up to 100 people, but there's no big increases planned to the SG&A because, my language and direction from focusing on we're investing is now changing to we have a path to profitability and positive cash flow. And that's where we're at now. We've built enough where we have that in vision, and that's where we're heading towards. So because of that, we don't have the resources to work on every single one of the 17 projects that we have in play right now. So I got to make those decisions. Thanks, Bobby.
All right. Bobby has a second part of that question too. It looks like you could have Rad Light My Way installed / deployed somewhere this summer or fall. Are others still on the same time frame as your last updates you provided?
I think actually Red Light My Way in college is supposed to be the completion of the implementation, which basically means the start and the completion is supposed to be this month, in July, for the college that it's going to. It's also going to be used hopefully at that first hospital that we expect to have that PO this month as well. And that installation is going to start in August. So it's perfectly conceivable to believe that in August, we have a signature customer in higher ed and a signature customer in healthcare, all using or both using Red Light My Way.
Okay. Next question comes from YouTube, Dave Lawton. What kind of distance will Rosa cover? 100 yards?
Hi, Dave. Yeah, I mean, like so much of what we do, we got to break the question down. So does that mean we're going to get video views? Does that mean we're going to have an analytic work? If we're going to have an analytic work, is it human detection? Is it firearm detection? Is it vehicle detection? Is it license plate recognition? What's the analytic? What are the lighting conditions? What's the time of day? Those are just the realities of using cameras. But the reality of it is, it's the reality of using your eyes as well. I might be able to see a license plate in the daytime at 25 feet, probably not at night unless it's lit. So those kinds of things. So what we tell clients is we say that under good conditions, almost all the analytics, except for license plate recognition, will work up to 250 feet. And then as you stack obstacles and degrees of difficulty, fog, rain, weather, lighting, whatever, then the range decreases. So there is no firm answer because environments change and are so flexible.
Okay. Next one comes from Riot Cracking Skulls. Are there plans to scale down your solutions to secure individuals' automobiles?
No, not at all.
Ski Skid Fly asks, any update on the potential 100-unit order discussed a while back?
There's multiple 100-unit orders in the funnel right now. And, sometimes, you have a customer who's got a lot of potential and they order 1 or 2 devices. We talk about that. Hey, listen, I want a proposal for 100 or 200 units. We're going to start with 2 or 10 or whatever like that. And so we're always working towards that big order. The order from DSI came in, 37 units to a single end user, 5 sites as an opening order. That customer can still take another 70 units. There's a couple other orders in the 30 to 50 range that, I had a sales call with some of the sales staff this morning, Sunday morning, and they're thinking that they could be July orders as well. So, all of these customers, you might go 30, 40, but you're probably good for 100, 200, 300 across your network. So, there's multiple out there. What I just want to say is that it's nice to see these clients that have big potential, instead of starting with onesies, twosies, starting with 30s and 40s.
Okay. Next question comes from YouTube, Thebes1. Any news on guarding ports?
Yes. But I don't think I've previously made anything public. So just kind of choosing my words wisely. Stay tuned. That's all I can say.
Okay. Next question comes from Darwin 1993. Any update or feedback on Romeo's at the casino and Six Flags?
I have some incredible visuals. I'll tell you, I got some pictures that a lot of the team uses on internal calls of Romeo's lit up at night, rolling around Six Flags with Six Flags lit up in the background. They're dramatic. I'm telling you, I'm dying to get those things, released. We haven't asked for permission, but Six Flags has been great. They're very sensitive on what we talk about, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Follow-up question. Any more campuses or universities that have requested or have deployed Red Light My Way?
No. No, in terms of deployed, that would come through a press release. I can tell you that per my call this morning, there appears, in addition to the client that's getting installed this month, there appears to be 4 additional higher ed clients that are close to signing.
Okay. Here's one from Mark Gracie, 1957 in YouTube. Why haven't you tried to get approved for selling to the Fed government through their FedRAMP rating?
You have to be ISO 27001 certified. We should achieve that certification at the end of this calendar year, at which point we'll go after it. I've already planted seeds with a few different agencies and some work on the political side. So certainly my eyes are on FedRAMP.
Okay, that's good to hear. Next one comes from Marino Joe. Can you talk about your vision or future production and what it may look like?
Joe, enjoy your moments. I love it. I use it all the time. Future production, I mean, future production, meaning like tomorrow is we've got, 1,000 roses coming. We got all kinds of parts coming. Need to decide if we're going to gear up for another run of Romeos. Joe, it's a huge question. So it would be something that I would want to prep for and have a bit of a structure to go through and share those details. I don't think you're coming. I didn't see you on the list for the July 18th event. But maybe I'll talk about it a little bit at that event with a little more color, and I'll be in the space.
Okay, follow-up question with him. When the sales dam breaks, any foreseen issues with current production that could cause not meeting sold items delivery deadlines? Like, for example, supplies, manufacturing, deployment issues.
Oh, yeah. The connection broke up a little bit there. I want to get the question right. Can you just repeat it for me, please?
Yep. When the sales dam breaks, any foreseen issues with current production that could cause not meeting sold item delivery deadlines?
Okay, so you broke up again, but I think between the two descriptions, I got enough of the question. So, production team is terrified. They live in a state of constant anxiety. You guys know me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And anyone who I would challenge anyone who thinks that supply chain is not a challenge. I would call bullshit on that. That is for sure. We focus on it. We talk about it. We got to amp up on our purchasing staff right now because we're just buried because it's just so difficult. You put in an order, the order gets accepted. A week before delivery, the manufacturer or the supplier sends you a message, says, guess what? We're decided not to fill it. You're back to the drawing board. So it's been very, very, very challenging. And it's an open challenge. So all I can do is share with you that it is a challenge. We do focus on it. We spend a lot of time and resources on it. It adds cost and inefficiency to our operations. And the only positive that I can find out of it is that everybody's suffering. Nobody's immune. So we're all in the same boat.
Okay. Next question comes from Chris B. Steve, we have been contacting the media as well as politicians about AITX has to offer for school safety as well as other safety concerns. Have you been contacted by anyone yet?
Yes. So we have been contacted by at least one person out of New York State at the county level. So we're engaged with her. Very interesting because, she's like, hey, this is my role, but I can't tell the school board what to do. So she's, bringing in law enforcement, to kind of put these things together, get school board to take a look at it. Besides that, we hit the media, we hit the writers who write stories on this stuff. And it's just crazy how it feels that, the news cycle changes so fast. And, it's that front page news that the media chase constantly. It's just, what's the story of the day? What's the flavor, right? So the good news is that we're building relationships with reporters on an organic level. We've got some folks invited to the open house, some press invited to the open house next week. So I expect that we'll have some people there. But, it's just one of those things, when we get our first customer who's willing to go public and talk about it, then the momentum will start to take off. But nothing's overnight.
Okay, next one comes from YouTube, Noir H. The future residential security devices that you plan on maybe releasing later this year, will they
Yeah.
be under the subscription model or buy or both?
Absolutely have to have a subscription model attached to it. We are a business, that gets valued on our recurring revenue. And so anything that we do will have a recurring revenue component to it. So the answer is firmly there, yes. I'll give you a little update on the project. It's coming along well. We could have prototypes running in late October is what my expectation is. Let's call it November for fun. Prototypes of that unit. Now, when I say that, I mean there's like, a design and there's a bunch of components on your lab desk and everything's you're putting it kind of together. So we'll see if we can't start taking pre-orders in November is my hope, but we'll see.
Okay, just a question for me on that. Is it like a smaller version of a Rosa? Does it look something similar to that? Okay. Next question comes from Oscar. What does the UK sales
Craig,
funnel look like since we signed an authorized dealer?
Okay, so I didn't hear the end of your residential Rosa comment, so I apologize. I don't think it's my connection, but I heard your UK question. I don't know. I don't think anything significant, that's for sure, because it hasn't crossed my desk as anything. So I think we're in the early stages in the UK.
Okay. My connection looks pretty good.
So does mine. I don't know.
I plugged in the Ethernet for this one, so.
Interesting. Okay.
Scrolling down. Sab Daddy, the AITX Daddy. Steve, is the 37 unit order part of the ISC West show?
I don't know. Good question. I don't know. The 37 unit order came through a dealer named DSI, and they have had that client as one of their clients for several years. And as the contract came up for renewal and they reviewed staffing challenges and pricing challenges, the client, led by DSI, were like, okay, listen, we got to go with this combo human robot solution, which is of course what we've been talking about as the go-to method at some point. And they bought off on it, and it's just been an absolutely beautiful sale. I want to have 100 of those a month. That's the future we've been working towards. And just for the record, certainly we were very close to DSI, and we were very close to them at the show as well, at ISC West.
Okay. Next question comes from Bo. Is the ERP fully implemented?
Hello, Bo. Good to see you. Another regular on Discord. Appreciate you. No, it is not fully implemented. There are so first of all, it's not fully implemented. Sounds like the Death Star, is it operational? I don't know. It is not operational fully. Right now, sales tracking components are pretty much running. And all the accounting elements are running. So we ran first quarter on both platforms, on our old platform and our new platform, just to check it. So that's really good. So I think going forward in the second quarter, we're going to be on ERP solely for as far as financial accounting goes. The one piece that isn't fully up and running yet is the BOMs related to building the products. So a lot of the inventory stuff is up to date, but we've invested a lot of money in our systems. So our ERP NetSuite talks to an engineering platform called Upchain. Upchain talks to a couple other platforms. So the info in Upchain, as the engineers change bill of materials items, it gets automatically pushed into the ERP. And we have that link, but the data in Upchain is going through some final changes. So I don't know, long explanation for something that some people might say is mundane, but obviously, Bo, you and I know is essential to for a company to have the ability to grow. Yeah, that's where we're at with the ERP. Next
All
couple
right.
months, we should be 100% on the ERP.
Next question comes from McNeil Enterprises. Do you have any plans on adding an IP address capturing analytics?
Maybe we already do. McNeil, I think I saw you on the list and for the open house. So hopefully I did, and hopefully I get to see you in person. We do IP tracking on a few different elements right now. Yeah, a few different elements of the solution. And these are for internal audit controls, internal security audit controls.
He's got a couple follow-up questions for analytics.
Sure.
Additionally, are there any plans on adding aggressive behavior detection analytics, such as a fight detection?
Yeah, so I don't know how many rad folks like from the company are watching this, but I'll share this with you. You know how last October we kind of launched RAD 3.0, right? So we launched 3.0 and we've been busy executing on it. Well, obviously there's 4.0, and 4.0 is built around some of the new work that we've invested in terms of our FPGA board and our move to NVIDIA and a bunch of different elements like that. Under that platform, we'll have, additional capacity to do more complex analytics, such as fight detection. Right now, with the current architecture and platform, we can't. And that's the answer there.
Any plans to add a crowd violence analytics?
That would be under the 4.0 platform.
Okay. And how big is the RAD product line solution total addressable market?
$100 billion.
Next one comes from Drew. There are two recent sales activities that were pending close to signature, and I'm hoping that you may have some updates on them.
Sure.
3/31/22, you tweeted yesterday, large, well-known company wants an initial order of 1 Romeo, 20 Rosa, and 2 Scott.
Yeah. What was that press release date on that one?
March 31st, 3/31.
Let me look it up. Let me look it up. $331. We're going back to March.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. Yes. I think we had a press release last week or 2 weeks ago about a shipping company. Oh, hold on. Let me make sure I get this right. Actually, Doug, could you, I don't want to stall the AMA. Can you do that lookup for me and hit me in chat with it? And then I'll share the news. So
we'll get on to the next one.
Yeah.
Next one comes from Cubby. Are the commercials still on track to air?
We have aired the commercials. Most of it was on Newsmax. There were a couple, like our contract had, it turned out it had very few placements on the other networks, which was really unfortunate. And what had happened was it had a couple in it, but the proposal that I thought I had signed, I didn't. I had opted for something more scaled down. So we have other proposals in front of us to do more mass media marketing, and just trying to think of where our sales are going to go, or sorry, where our sales are going to come from.
Okay. Next one comes from Eric Medina.
I want to add a little bit more color on that. The example is I could spend $15,000 on a show, on a trade show. And you guys know we've been doing a lot of trade shows the last couple of months. We've got a lot of trade shows scheduled coming up the next few months. Now I get some TV advertising for that same $15,000, right? Maybe get 100 spots, across a region or two, maybe 5 to 10 major metro areas for that spend. But I've got to make the decision, what's more engaging? Is it more engaging to be face to face with someone that you know has a pain point because they came up to you, you know you have a solution for them? Or do you just do broadcast advertising? So, there's a place for both of them. Right now, I'm opting to spend money on what I call hand-to-hand combat, getting in front of people, learning their pain and providing the solutions to them. So that's kind of some of the decisions that I have to make. Craig, whoever asked the question, for March 31, Doug's saying we didn't have a press release on March 31.
Okay.
So if whoever that is can just add some more color on those questions, and I want to get the answers out to you.
Okay. Next question comes from Eric Medina. Any update on a new RAD facility on Texas in Dallas?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, Eric is out there every day working on AITX, fighting FUD, sharing good news, and helping bring visibility to it. So I'll thank Eric, but really everybody should thank Eric. And I would hope everyone could take a page out of Eric's book and do some of that work as well. So thank you, Eric. The Dallas facility is no longer on the books. It was attached to our potential purchase of a company that did concealed weapons detection. And for many, many, many good reasons, we did not pursue, I dropped pursuit of that. And with that, the Dallas office came off the books as well.
Okay. Another question from Eric Medina. Do you see AITX in a couple of years go to the QX?
No, I don't. If we decide to uplist, we'll uplist straight to NASDAQ. The QX and NASDAQ have very, very similar requirements. So when that time's right, we'll bypass QX, go straight to NASDAQ.
Okay.
And I'll share with you, it could be in that time frame, because I've been very, very clear that we won't uplist to a senior exchange until the time is right for retail. And for what that means is debt's got to be down, revenue growth has to be up, and it'd be nice to have profitability or positive cash flow, or at least be within a very forecastable and foreseeable striking distance of those markers.
Here's a good question from Scott Horn on YouTube. What about drones interacting with Romeo or Rosa, high-end cameras, etc.?
Well, we have a growing relationship with Nightingale Security, which I think is one of, if not the premier drone security company in the world at this time. So Jack Wu and I have had a relationship for the last several years, and we were at a show in Nashville several months ago, and we're like, hey, let's just put this together and start doing it. So I believe in drones. I will share that much like RAD, a good drone company like Nightingale has spent 8 figures on development, very expensive. What I'm sharing is that there's an expensive barrier to entry in the drone space, even though RAD has 3-4 people from DJI and FLIR and a couple other drone companies. So that's why I'm looking to make partnerships with drone companies at this time. I want to hit profitability. I don't want to open up another project where I need 40 more engineers. But we're still limited by the FAA and the federal government's reluctance to open up the airways. And until that happens, the drone market will continue to be ultra niche and ultra small. And we've got bigger fish to fry in bigger markets.
Next question comes from McNeil United Enterprises. With the many and ongoing expanding features with the RAD library, are there any features within the RAD product line that allows employees, customers, or visitors in an emergency situation the ability to summon a security guard?
Yeah, I mean, RAD Light My Way does right off the bat. So that would be that's our customer-facing platform, our end user, staff member user license. So that's baked into that platform. So yeah.
Next question comes from the Black Pearl. Thanks for all your time, Steve. Any update on the current RMR on that monthly basis?
That'd be material. Come through the queue. That should be issued this week, next few days.
Okay. Another question from the Black Pearl. Also with the 614 logistics PR for Ava's and Tom, it doesn't show monthly recurring revenue for a year.
Yep. Yeah. And the reason for that is that if I'm saying specific numbers, specific financial numbers, I have to go through a process which not only involves legal, but also generally involves the audit. And sometimes if, our top line revenue is say $100,000 on a particular client or a particular order, like that one might be, the auditors will have like holdbacks and this and that, and they won't let you account for all the revenue in a given year. So it just becomes this kind of complex mess that has very little upside or value to us. So that's why I don't think I would just say I very, very rarely talk about what the annual revs will be for those reasons.
Okay. Next one comes from Darwin, 1993. What happened to the roses at 7-Eleven in LA? I passed by and they weren't there anymore.
They're configuring their platforms. They've been moving devices around. I will share with you that I know that we're waiting for another PO from them for some new facilities. But it's a live breathing thing. 7-Eleven doesn't have as many corporate stores as they do franchise stores. So it's just a complex, large customer. Very, very happy with the work that we've done there. Our dealer is happy, the client is happy. And like I said, we should have a PO coming down any day. One of the many POs we're waiting for any day.
Another question from Darwin, 1993. Steve, the whole community is confused on your latest casino PR. On April, you mentioned you expected the casino to have an initial order for 20 roses and 1 Scott. The latest PR says additional 14 units with 12 roses, 1 Scott, and 1 Romeo.
The current number is the second PR, is the one about the additional.
Okay.
But I'll share with you that the revs on the additional, because of Romeo, the revs for the company are going to be greater than when I said the 20 roses and the 1 Scott. The new PR is higher value to the company than the old PR.
Okay. Another question from the Black Pearl. With the growing number of Avas being bought, would it make sense to get a bulk order of them as well?
Well, that's exactly what we're doing. That's what we're doing with the 1,000 shells. It's exactly it. Yeah, it makes sense, and we're actioning on it right now. Yep.
Another one from the Black Pearl. What is the revenue structure for distributors when they sell our units? Do they get a cut of monthly recurring revenue, or is it a one-time upfront payment?
No, they get a perpetual cut with some conditions. Yeah, they make a lot of money on it, much more than they'll make selling guards on an aggregate basis. And even for the integrators, they have cost certainty without slippage. So yeah.
Here's one from
on the casino question. First of all, great client, really excited about it. They're really excited. I'm excited about that whole platform. A lot of these casinos have sister casinos, or they're under the same ownership umbrella. So, that particular deployment, I think, can scale up just at that site. But really, the eye on the prize is something that's related in Atlantic City. And that has a degree of magnitudes larger than this first one.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Let me know when they're down there. I'll go take a look.
I'll come down to that one. I've never been to Atlantic City, so.
Okay. Yeah, let me know when you're coming.
I will.
Here's one from Drew. Do any of the AITX employees sign non-compete agreements when they are hired?
No. Oh. I'm not into non-competes. Number one, there's really no one competing with us. So that's number one. Number two, you sign an agreement, there's an obligation or there's a duty for enforcement. I have no duty to enforce it. Somebody working for us then doesn't want to work for us and wants to take their life in another direction. I want to wish them the best, and team members that are on the team, I want to wish them the best and help them achieve their goals as well. So you're not going to find me getting in the way of of somebody wanting to do something. We do have agreements on disclosure of information and those types of things. And maybe we'll add a non-compete if there is ever a competitor for us, which I'll imagine at some point, but right now, not necessary.
Okay, here's a question from YouTube, number 23 and Shannon Robertson, both asking, why do we need to add 1 billion more shares?
Good question. Hi, Shannon, and number 23 or whatever the other name is. We have to add another 1 billion shares because we have to continue to raise money to fund operations to reach profitability. That's the shortest answer. But let's talk about that for a second. I'm certain that this AS raise, authorized share count raise of $1 billion is amazing for retail investors. And the reason is that if it takes us 24 months to sell those shares into the market, that will mean that whatever you have right now, you'll have suffered a 16% dilution. Okay, 16%. Now, let's say that stock goes up. Obviously, this is just scenario playing, right? Let's say stock goes up and, whatever, we're sitting at 5 cents. We raised $35 million out of this billion shares, right? Brings us to profitability, which is huge. And then what happens to the stock? Can we do more? Can we create more value with 1 billion shares funding the company than 16% dilution? Obviously, I think the answer is resounding yes. 16% dilution versus 10x growth, 20x growth. So I think those numbers are great. The other thing that I want to equate this to is, that we're in the OTC, and a lot of tech companies like us, or who are kind of sort of like us, whatever, not from a product standpoint, but from a growth standpoint, are VC funded or private equity funded. And the way it works is that, you find a company, you give them a chunk of money, you say, give them $50 million. And let's say it's on a $500 million valuation. Okay, so the VC is in for $50 million. And then what happens is the company burns the 50 million because they're building and growing, blah, 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 blah. And they got to go for a new series. So let's say the 50 million was series A. Now they got to go for series B. So they go back to the VCs and they put to another group and they say, hey guys, we need another $50 million. And the VCs all look at them and they say, well, you guys spent that $50 million really well. And now for your series B, we're going to give you $1 billion valuation. Here's your $50 million. What happened there was the first guy who put the first 50 million in on a $500 million valuation, he just got diluted by, I don't know, I lost the math. I was going to have an example, but he gets diluted by, let's say 10%, but his value doubled because the market cap of the company, as valued by the VCs, go from 500 million to $1 billion. That is kind of how I equate this. And that's how I say this is nothing but good. This is nothing but good.
Okay. Next question comes from YouTube again. American Candle Factory. Can we give a unit to a school in Florida to demo the product of gun detection?
100%. Contact me directly. I'm easy enough to reach. I was just talking with that lady, Secret. Yes, who is amazing, up in Kentucky. And I said, find me a couple schools. Let's get this going. Let's get this going. So Florida, we actually have a bit of strength in Florida on a few different fronts. I would love to engage. Contact me. The answer is yes.
Another one from YouTube, Benjamin James. When will the Rosa NFT be available for purchase?
We're going to mint it sometime between 4 and 8 weeks from now, pending us building the right size community. Craig, you're actually a little bit more involved in that than me at this point. How's it looking? What's your thought process on when we might mint?
I don't know the exact details on that yet. Still talking to the Rosa community manager on that. and I think he has the final say. So I'll reach out to him later today, and maybe I'll post something in Discord.
Yeah, why don't you? I'd appreciate that. I'm looking forward to the minting. I want to get my NFT. This is going to be many, many, many people's first NFTs. And, we might not all own the Mona Lisa, but I'm pretty sure everybody wished they would have held on to their Apple IIe's, from 1988. So we'll see. It's just fun. It's new. We'll see where it goes. If we build the community, it might be an incredible way to raise money for the company and share utility that's related to royalty. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. Preliminary step into this NFT world.
Okay, next question comes from a Shred Guitar God. In thinking about future demand, having everything made in-house would be a great boon for the company. Have you thought about reaching out to a 3D printing company such as Desktop Metal?
We have our own 3D print farm inside our factory and the Rex. So we have 10, or at least the last time I was there, we may have more now, but we have 10 3D printers, and they have been amazing for us. So just so everybody knows, it's called additive manufacturing. That's the process of it. So we do it in-house. We love it. I forecast, 50 to 100 3D machines as we expand our farm out. We've done some really cool work, networking them all together and just really, really building it out. It's an essential part of our production right now. I don't plan on necessarily farming 3D work out. The economics of doing it in-house versus third party, if you can manage it in-house and you have the skills and talent, the economics to do it in-house are mind-blowing versus third party.
Next question comes from Sunny14. Is AITX working on anything else besides gun detection that could help in active shooter situations?
Hello, Sunny14. Well, I mean, our firearm detection platform is fairly sophisticated. We're locking down doors automatically. We're connecting to law enforcement automatically. We're doing shelter in place things automatically. So really, from my perspective, from a firearm detection standpoint, we're doing a few things, okay? We're constantly refining the analytic itself. So I think that last week or next week, we have another improvement to the analytic based on more training. So that's always going to happen. The biggest thing that can happen in that space is that I consummate a deal for concealed weapons detection technology, which we covered earlier in this. That's the biggest thing. Other than that, it's just, I find the platform is pretty complete. If you think that there's things we're not doing that we should be, I'm all ears.
Follow up with gun detection from Oscar. What percentage of verbals were seeking gunshot/firearm recognition capabilities?
The gunshot detection stuff that we, had announced a couple of years ago got no play. So thank goodness we didn't invest much into it. We had started engineering. We brought it to a point where we then wait for the first order, which hasn't come. So gunshot detection, unless you're a municipality in some high gunfire areas, is not something that people are willing to pay for. So that's what's happening with gunshot. What was the second part of that question?
Looking for verbals for the recognition capabilities of the firearm detection and the gunshot.
Okay, so gunshot dead, not dead, but certainly not significant. Firearm detection is big. Big eyeballs out of healthcare. So, the company has built many, many, many more healthcare relationships than education. Education were a series of markets that I steered away from over the years because procurement is a pain in the ass. The procurement process is very political. You're not always dealing with security professionals. We just have better things to do with our time. That's just the reality of it. Now, because of Uvalde and because we brought out this, we're now spending resources on it. We had some lists prepared by one of our market researchers to really target those efforts. And that's where we're in right now, but it's kind of a new space for us.
Okay. Next one comes from Stuart Woods. What have you put in place to ensure quality stays above the pace with production increase?
Well, hello, Stuart, and I've enjoyed our recent correspondence. We have quality control processes in the factory. So, the biggest one from my view is, making sure that a different department, the department that implements the devices, has an embedded person in the factory. So before units go out, that person has to sign off on them. So that's kind of a big part of checks and balances. But beyond that, the checks and so forth at the production level and at the QC level are fairly extensive. I don't have the details though, but we don't ship out bad product. But we have had a couple cracked ROSA shells on some of the first injection molded ROSA test runs, but we fixed those in a big way.
Next question from Subbuckney 11. How is AITX performing in your international markets?
No question that North America, particularly the United States, is our overwhelming focus point from a global standpoint. That's followed by Canada, with a few different things that we have happening in Canada. But, obviously a very different crime type environment across the border. We have a Romanian partner in Europe who's really the only investment we're doing on mainland Europe. And I think they're getting the Romeo in the next month or two or something like that. I don't know, but they're doing great. Love those guys. And then the UK, I went on a fact-finding mission a couple months ago or so, and made a couple relationships and just kind of going slow there. But our bread is buttered in the United States to start with, for sure.
Next question comes from Jarmus 18. Hey, Steve, based on current forecast, do you still expect fiscal 23 year-end revenue to be 3 to 5 times last year's revenue?
Yes.
Next question. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
All right. Bullish Green. Hi, Steve. Roses are usually mounted from an elevated position looking outward and down. With the advent of the Highland Park, Illinois shooting, will you be addressing firearm detection on rooftops?
Well, good question. And BG, always good to see you as well. Rooftop is really just an elevation. You can have a rooftop at 12 feet above finished floor. You can have it at 150 feet above finished floor. Part of what we do and part of why I talk about our analytics is because we train our analytics from 12 to 15 feet is the level that we're normally doing our trainings on. And, I don't have any of the stuff in front of me, but like our engineers, do these X and Y axes, and they do the measuring, and they've got like the fancy line saying, oh, at this angle, blah, 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 right? So they go through all of that. I'll share with you that we do firearm detection from height. And that's what the analytic is built around. I don't know if that answers your question. But a lot of those, situations in Chicago, for example, if we had roses on those poles, on those building sides, I guarantee we'd be getting hits. I guarantee it would create a lot of law enforcement action.
Next question from Young J 24. The Scott unit that was deployed outside of Dallas Love Field is no longer there. Was it moved to a different location?
The POC was completed and they decided not to renew it. And I think it's very unfortunate. I don't know if any of you guys tracked it, but somehow or other, Tucker Carlson did a bit on it, and and he somehow mentions Scott at Dallas Love Field, that transitions to AI and that transitions to China somehow. So that was, if you want to call it, bad press number one. And then bad press number two is, I guess the airport loaded it up with a voice that some people felt was, I don't know how to put it, effeminate or I don't know, just using a lot of negative connotations. And there was some blowback from the airport for those reasons. And that's kind of what happened with those two Scots. What it did do, though, is it did get us into some other stuff in Texas. And, I'll do a POC pretty much anywhere, anytime, because good things always come from it. But that's what happened with that. One of those wild situations.
Okay. Here's a speculative question from Jarmus 18. Steve, what your best guess at this point in time, when a company goes to uplist to NASDAQ, do you know what the RS would be if there is one?
I wish. I don't know.
Question from T. Shushman. A more specific question on authorized share count. Will the authorized limit be increased beyond 5 billion within the next 30 days? If not, within the next 90 days? How does that work?
30 days, I expect. Yeah. But, yeah, so I hope that answered that question, but that's how long it should take. But let's go back to the school shootings and firearm detection, right? I get frustrated. We hit the press, we hit schools. We've got law enforcement professionals that say this will save lives, like literally say this will save lives, from the FBI and school resource officers. Why isn't this solution everywhere? Like, I'm starting to ask my question. People tell me I got to be more patient. It takes time. But really, just so everybody knows, I'm like, this thing should be everywhere. Like, I don't know why it isn't. I get mad. I get frustrated. It works me up. So, there's several people on this call that help press this word out. I'm telling you, it helps. So keep it up, guys. Keep it up. Spread the word. Talk about it. This is like kind of a community funded company, the way that I look at it at this point, right? So you are us and we are you. Let's get the word out.
Next question comes from Chris B. Are there any potential customers from the event in New York?
Yes. The legislature that I had mentioned showed up at the event, and we spent some time after the event talking, and that's the one who's bringing in the police to go to the school boards with them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Another question, Coach.
But I think we did okay on views on that video too, though. I think that I think we got 5,000 views or something on it, maybe thereabouts.
Well, that's a lot pretty quick.
Yeah, that's a lot pretty quick. And that's what it takes. We gotta hit the press. We gotta create good content. We have to have community members also talking about it, right? It's kind of this whole thing. And as you dive into business, which you get when you engage with AITX, because we're so transparent, we share so much, you see that it takes time, and I don't want to use the word attack, but efforts from a lot of different sides in order to get things done, in order to make change. Change is tough.
All right, Steve, we have a couple more questions to go through, and then we'll be wrapping this up shortly. This is from Coach P. Are there any other ways you could raise money for the company?
Well, yeah, Coach. There certainly are. The NFT timing didn't work out. I had hoped that the NFT timing would be launched when NFTs were at their height, and that, it would be a great success, and we would either not have to do the AS or delay the AS significantly, right? Like, that's what my hope was about a year ago when I started kind of thinking about ways not to raise the AS. What we did instead is we launched the NFT when we could. I pushed $10 million of debt back 3 years because our debt holder is very friendly, and I paid him off $2 million. So, we're managing our debt, so the debt doesn't scare me or keep me up at night. Really, it's going to come down to what it always comes down to, which is fundamental performance, right? The company has to do well. We got to get to 500 deployed units. We got to get to 1,000 deployed units. We got to reach positive cash flow. And then, just my expectation is this cascade of good things better things, bigger things from a market cap and price per share thing start to take effect. Not to say that we can't do it now. I still think that, there's tremendous growth available in our stock right now, especially when people look at the stock and they say, hey, they're adding $1 billion. Well, hey, yesterday I pulled a list of 20 or 25 OTC tickers that have way more shares in their overhead and dilute way more than we do all the time, and are still running with higher market cap and lower revs. So I like our direction, but if there's other ways to raise money without raising the AS, I want to know, because I feel I've turned over every stone.
Okay, here's a question from Rocco. With the recent AS increase, is there a target for how much money you would like the company to raise in the next 24 months?
Yeah, I'd like it to be $35 million, which basically requires that the stock climbs from the 1.4 it is now to about 5 cents. That's what I'd like.
Okay.
But I'm really operating on it as if it's only going to raise $10 million. And so we're really trying to work with that number to get to positive cash flow.
Next question comes from McNeil United Enterprises. If I remember correctly, you mentioned that the RAD software uses recognition based on clothing and not person face signature.
True.
What if a person changes clothes or someone has similar clothing?
Sure. It'll alarm on them, or it wouldn't alarm on them, Really, the question is well, let me expand for folks. First thing is AI is pretty powerful, and anything powerful can be used for good or evil. And I don't like analytics that are going to run on race or any type of those, what I call bio identifiers. Be facial recognition, skin color, age, gender, any of those things. So because I think that type of profiling is destructive, I don't want anything to do with it. We don't. But because a lot of loitering related and unsheltered / homelessness related problems come from people who don't change clothes, is where we came up with the human attribute detection side. So can it be beaten by someone who changes their clothes? Of course it can. Is it perfect? Of course it's not. But in the context for which it was designed, it's very effective.
Follow-up question for that. Is there any other means of identification, such as like people have walking signature identification and maybe be able to track that?
Yes, if we did do something like that, it'd have to be off the 4.0 platform. We can't do that on the current platform. When you're actually in security, right? When you're a security professional, so because of Hollywood, there's this big gap between what the public in general thinks security can do and what the public thinks security guards and agencies do and what they really do. And the gap is big. Security is not sitting around looking for individual suspects and loading facial rec into different analytics to run on people. That's not what they're doing. It's much more baseline, unsophisticated than that right now. And that's what we're dealing with. That's why, I think our solution has been so warmly received, because we're focusing on real problems, not, it should be able to do this, should be able to do that. Yeah, but what's the real world need? This is what the real world needs.
Following up on Hollywood, how is the movies coming along?
So fun. We did the 4. There's one publication that's either underway in Hawaii or about to start or just finished. I haven't been tracking that one specifically. But the other 3 feature films are done. So fun. I wish I heard the big one is an August release, but I don't know. Anyway, I check the stars' Instagrams all the time, see if they're allowed to talk about it or anything. And I check the studio's Instagrams from time to time. When it hits, it'll hit. And I'm telling you, the AITX family or community is going to be like, oh my God, that's our stuff. That's our stuff. It's going to be so fun. especially the big production from Atlanta. That was unbelievable. Oh, and I just got a note here. We just started the Hawaii production, and Doug says more are coming. So there you go. We should be in more.
Okay. One last question before we wrap up. It's
Great.
from JT Ishmael.
Yep.
With the new eyes on gun detection, are there potential clients finding other interests in our products? If so, any specifics?
JT, you're doing great work out there for us. So keep that up. Thank you. And I thank you on behalf of the entire community. The firearm detection, really, it strengthens our engagement with the target markets that we've had. It's certainly opened up K through 12 because, as I ranted moments ago, it should be everywhere. It's crazy. So yeah, it's opened up that huge new market for us. I really hope we get a few quick hits and then we get some serious momentum. But that's about the answer on that question, though, JT. Great one.
Okay. Steve, I'd like to thank you for taking your time out of this busy day to answer these questions from the AITX community and the Red Army. Please like, subscribe, and sign up for notifications to the YouTube channel. And check out the websites, AITX.ai, radlightmyway.com, radsecurity.com, and make sure to follow Steve on Twitter and join the Discord. Thank you for your time,
Steve. Got a couple things. For whoever's left, do we still have active viewers right now? 107 now?
Yeah.
I want to share with you the number of people holding AITX shares. I did that poll on Friday. There are 115,000 people that hold AITX shares. 115,000. I think I said 20,000 have on average almost 200,000 shares each. That is huge, huge community. So I just want to share, it's really nice. We're not a little niche OTC company. We got a ton of eyes on us. Why am I talking about that? Because all these people are watching, and when they feel the time is right, I hope they come in. There's no overhang of toxic debt that's going to suck up the shares, the people buy. So I feel we're well positioned to deliver great returns on stock. So anyway, I want to share that with everybody. And
a lot of people holding a lot of shares.
A lot of people hold a lot of shares. And the thing about it is I know they're all ready to buy more. And I know that as this recession knocks out some of these weaker OTC players, that they're going to be looking for homes for their OTC parts of their portfolio. And I want to be that home.
Thanks for your time today, Steve.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you across all the platforms. Have a good one.